Christopherson here again with another first listen review. And yes, this actually is a first listen review, even though I bought the album way back in 1996 when it first came out. Because I say that because it's been remixed and remastered. So it's a new album pretty much at that point. So I'm talking about Alex Lifeson and what was originally his band called Victor. I guess that's what we're gonna go with this one. So yeah, I'm gonna babble about this one for sure. I remember when this first came out. It was actually, I have it still. I actually pulled it out here to make sure that to compare with the two. And it was originally just called Victor. I remember that it was just a band name or whatever. And it wasn't like. It wasn't like a Nine Inch Nails thing where it was, all one guy making the album, calling it a band. This was actually a band. It had Alex Lifeson, from Rush, as we all know, and he had some other people involved in this. I mean, we got a whole band. He had Blake Manning on drums. He had a lead vocalist come in on actually 6 of the tracks. He had Edwin from the band I Mother Earth. Band I have a couple of their albums, but I really never got into them too much, so it wasn't my cup of tea. But he's got him on lead vocals here, and he's got a female vocalist named Del Bell. Always sounds female, so I'm assuming. But and Bill Bell on guitar, and Pete Cardinale on bass. Actually has Les Claypool playing on one of the songs here called The Big Dance. But anyway, came back out in '96, and I remember getting it, and I think I listened to it a couple of times and put it away, and I really have not taken this out to listen to since, if I'm being completely honest. It was just one of those albums that didn't do much for me. And I was not going to get this one. I heard it was coming out, and I got the Geddy Lee one. I actually already did a review on that one, and was just going to let this one just go by the wayside. But he's re-released it under his name, Alex Lifeson. They'll call the album Victor. And I didn't realize this, and this is why this review is coming out a little bit later, is that he himself remixed everything, and of course remastered. And I say remastered, but when you remix something, it's basically just being mastered at that point, so you wouldn't remaster it, I guess. But I'm splitting hairs there. But anyway, it's him doing that, and I guess the reason, because when you get the album, it kind of gives a little explanation as to why he did this. He didn't like the muddiness of the first album, and the layering. He did tons of layering and layering. He wanted it more stripped back and got rid of all the guitar layers and some of the synth layers, I guess, too, and wanted it to be a more sharp, crisp sounding album. And I think that is actually what he achieved with this. And because let me tell you, when I popped in the first song, I noticed that immediately, that it's very crisp and sharp. The guitars, especially, very sharp, crisp, rockin' sounding album. So I understand why he did it, because it did clean it up a lot, and that's every song is like that. And I wouldn't go as far as saying as the album itself was muddy before, but it definitely had a lot of layers. And warmness is one thing, but when you're losing clarity in the sounds, then you got to kind of pick and choose. What do you want? Do you want warmness, or do you want to be actually to hear what the sound of the instruments actually are? So I get what he was saying there. Yeah, you'd really have to listen to the two of them to understand what I'm saying, though. But it is a big difference on this one. I know I make that comment sometimes, that sometimes when things are redone, especially just a remaster, that they don't sound better. This is the way to do it, though. If you're going to redo an album, I think remixing and then mastering it off of the new remix is the way to go, because I hear a lot of remasters that just are not an improvement. In fact, complete opposite a lot of the time. And so I know I talked about the Testament albums here not too long ago, but I didn't realize till afterwards that they had actually lost the master tapes, or there is no way to remix those. But if they had, I think that would have been a great thing for them to do. Unfortunately, that's never going to happen, but with this one, it did. Now, as far as the songs go, because I spent a lot of time babbling about just the sound of it, I haven't talked about the songs at all. The production on this album, it came out in '96, but it sounds, the production on this is a little dated. I can't ignore that at all. In fact, it's got almost like a mid to late '80s production sound to it, especially the guitar textures and the sounds that he chose. Although they are very unique to Alex. He does use a lot of the sounds like maybe he started using back on Grace Under Pressure, that era. He started experimenting more with sounds. And you can hear that continuing on this. There's not the sounds themselves are not really thick. He uses a lot of thin sounding, just sounds, and it pretty much continues throughout this. There's a couple instrumentals on here, Mr. X, and there's what's the other one here called? Geez, I can't even think what the other one is. Shutting up. Although it's not really an instrumental, it's got like this weird conversation thing going on it with some girl and him, I'm assuming, and it's just kind of like, it sounds a little weird. I don't know. I think I would prefer that one being just an instrumental. Oh, Strip and Go Naked was the other instrumental, but that one is just an instrumental. But and I was going to say that about this whole album, though. The vocals from Edwin on this, I don't think they add to the songs. I actually listened to them, and I think I prefer them without vocals. The one that was kind of good was the one that Daw Bella sings, which is funny because she sounds. I actually had to look again and see who was singing on that one because it sounded so much like Geddy that I had to make sure that it really wasn't. Although it didn't completely sound like him, but man, it was very similar in tone and whatever. But it was not Geddy, so no worries there. But anyway, the rest of the album, I was trying to explain the sound of the songs are kind of upbeat. I said the same thing about Geddy Lee's album. Geez, I'm stammering and stuttering here like crazy. I said the same thing about Geddy, that you can hear where the influence and the input that Alex had into the Rush sound. You can hear like what part, you can picture like Rush songs in your head and you're like, oh man, yeah, this song sounds like something similar to what I've heard in a lot of the the Rush sounding stuff, and especially like later on, because I guess there were a couple of the bonus stuff on here. I think, if I'm not mistaken, was actually some stuff that he was intending on using, for some of the stuff later on. And as always, I'm getting a little off track here because, as I always promise, there's going to be babbling. But so that's kind of the style you hear here. It's most of the stuff is kind of upbeat. The thing I had a problem with was Mr. X is like a really short song. Like that was the first instrumental, and he's like really showing his his style of soloing on that song, and then it's really short. And Strip and Go Naked was cool. That was the other instrumental on here. And by this point, when I'm hearing the singing, and not that it's bad, not that his vocals are bad or anything, but it doesn't, like I said, it didn't add anything to the songs. I think I really would have preferred hearing this whole album as an instrumental. Maybe that would have been a cool bonus double CD. I usually hate that when it's just instrumentals, but I think in this case, Alex was the feature of the album, and he was like the high point. And I think I would have rather just heard the songs as instrumentals. And the part that really made me think that is on this reissue. There's 4 bonus songs. So you have a song called Cherry Lopez Lullaby, Serbs, Groove, and Banjo Bob. And those are great. They're all instrumental, and I love those more than I love the rest of the album. And the more variety on those 4 bonus songs than there was on the whole rest of the album. I don't understand what Cherry Lopez is, but that was a cool little, I don't know if it's a relative or something, I don't know, but somebody might be able to, in the comments, fill me in on what that is if they know. But that song was cool. Serbs had like these songs they're only like, from 3.5 to 4 minutes long. Actually, Groove is a little bit longer. They take you along so many different styles in the one song, and they take you on a little journey. Serbs started out kind of mellow, and that kind of grew into something a little bit bigger. The song Groove started out sounding like jazz. I'm like, probably not going to care for this one. The next thing, boom, it's a completely different song. And I was like, wow, this did not turn out at all where I thought this was going. But even it kept that cool little guitar thing that I thought sounded jazzy, and by the end of the song, it wasn't sounding jazzy at all. And it still kept that same kept coming back to that part too. It didn't just totally abandon it. It actually kept coming back to that. And when Banjo Bob started, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a banjo song, and it starts with the banjo, but it completely changes gears, goes on a completely different track, and you're like, wow, what did I just hear there? So those songs blew my mind. Those 4 songs there alone were completely worth buying. I know I'm giving this one, I'm going on a really long time about this one, but this one turned out to be a lot more than I expected. Can't give it a 10 out of 10 because I really didn't care for the vocals that much, and there's some talking in there. And the song Victor itself is kind of boring. He's just talking. I know it's based on a poem by some famous poet, and I can't even think who it was off the top of my head here. But maybe somebody can fill me in, because I know it's based on a poem and I can't remember what poem it is, but fill me in the comments if you remember who it is. And it's about somebody's cat or something. It's really strange, but and in the song, really, I didn't care for that. Other than that, cool. I'd probably rate it I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I know I don't use rankings on everything, but this one I just felt like I had to. So anyway, I think that's long enough for me to babble. I know people always complain about me babbling, but I warned you right from the start, I babble. So anyway, like, share, subscribe to keep this music alive, because I would love to hear some more from Alex. Like, we need these guys either to do some more stuff together, or just maybe, I know they have the music in them. I know they have to have stuff to release. And it's like, come on, to share it with us. We love you guys. We want to hear it. So anyway, until next time, we will see ya.